Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Karu and it is time to showcase everything I managed to do in November. It was not as much as the past few months, but I was really busy with some markets and then I got sick after the market and was in bed for like nearly 2 weeks. So lots of works in progress and little images that I finished, and two that I'm going to have to share just the scans because they were gifts for nieces that have already left the house so that they are delivered in time for Christmas. But that said, let's dive right in. The first book I have to share is Small Victories by Johanna Basford that came out in November. I really enjoyed looking through the images. I admit I don't think I did a flip through like I did for some other books, partially because I did get sick and partially because even Johanna had a video herself. So, and then I got into coloring in it. So, yeah, the page I managed to finish was this one. I really liked the geometric designs on this page, and it felt small enough and easy enough for me to test out some pencils on it. I used the Hiforney Black Edition pencils that I got last month, and I had a very clear picture for the first two, and then I wanted to do some like inverted stuff here. So I wanted these two to be darker in the background and these two to be lighter in the background, and I essentially inverted colors. So this one has a blue background with pink flowers, and this one has the pink background with blue flowers, and then here I have the yellow flowers with a purple background and a yellow background with purple. I had a lot of fun with this. Pencils worked pretty well, and I outlined it with some gold acrylic marker and added some dots to both this one here and the top one, and it's really hard to tell with this kind of lighting, the shine. But yeah, I did have to go over it with a black marker on the borders just to make sure that they were visible enough. But yeah, I'm gonna do a little bit of close-up so you can see the details from this small book. And that is Small Victories by Johanna Basford. Okay, so the next book is by Ohuhu. It's one of those books that come with other content, essentially. This one came with a set of markers that I am possibly going to do a review video of because I really like them. I've never seen them before on any Ohuhu site or anything, so I think it's a very new line. It only has 48 colors, and the quality of them reminds me of like the Tombow line, but they are much cheaper. So to test them out, I figured I would use the book, and it does have, I can give you here a little sneak peek of all the images that come in it, because they have small versions at the front. A bit of a mix of different topics and styles. And going to the one I did, I wanted to essentially test out all of, as many of the different colors as I could in the set. So I figured a mandala would work best, and it worked out pretty good. I really like how it looks despite the fact that I'm using so many different colors, and they were fun to use. You still have some of the streaking you can see here and there, but they have less streaking than other water-based markers, because yes, these are water-based markers. As you can see, they don't really, they have some shadowing where I layered over them, but other than that, I really like the colors, and I ended up using them for another page that I will show in a bit. So get up close. I think the browns I left for very last and ended up in the center, but I really like the layering and how I picked the colors for little dots. so that you have from yellow to dark red. And yeah, I did test out some layering of the same color and layering of different colors to get different effects. And I had a lot of fun with that. So that is in the Ohuhu coloring book. Next up is Worlds of Wonder by Johanna Basford, which I think is going to be my first book that I try to finish completely, so I am trying to get as many pages as possible. The first page I finished was beginning of the month. I finished this page, and I don't like this page, but it's done, and that's the important part. This was my first test with the Daniel Smith watercolor grounds and watercolors, and it was a bit of a mess. I ended up patching it up with alcohol markers and no bleed through, luckily. There's a bit of warping to the paper between all the water and the grounds themselves, but other than that, page survived, so that's good. And yeah, I mean, it is a mix of watercolors, some pencils, but the pencils weren't really taking, so I switched to alcohol markers to kind of patch up where it was really, really splotchy, and some shiny watercolor for the, a bit too much, zoom out a bit, there we go, and a bit of shiny watercolor for the stars and the moon. And yeah, you can see some of the splotchiness, especially in the sky. I had gone over it with watercolor and it looked very patchy, so I ended up grabbing a alcohol marker and going over it. And I still had some streaks here and there, but I didn't want to keep layering stuff on it. Some of it is just alcohol marker. I had done a base of a blue wash just to give everything like that nighttime look, and it's not really visible at the bottom anymore because of all the layers. But, I mean, overall, it works. It's done. I'm not particularly proud of it, and I hope I get a chance to redeem myself with the watercolor grounds in the future. But I am glad I didn't just leave it as an eternal work in progress, because like I mentioned, I do want to finish this book. So then I wanted to do something simpler because I had so much going on. So I did this page. Ironically, this was done after I got the Small Victories book, but I wanted to do something in this book. So I picked the probably simplest page in this book, and this is done entirely with a new set of acrylic markers that worked out really well. I was testing out some blending here, and that worked well. I did some layering, and I kept it simple. I considered shading it a bit with pencil, but then I was like, you know what? No, I want this page to be simple. I like how it looks. It doesn't need to be complex, and I think I needed that, and I'm just so happy with how it looks as it is. Sometimes you don't need to put that much detail in it. You just have to have fun with it. And then the other page I finished because I was still on an acrylic marker kick, and I liked them so much, I ended up picking this page. And I had some pretty clear ideas of what I wanted this page to have. I started with all the green, using two acrylic markers, a light one and a dark one, and then I kind of went in. I knew I wanted red flowers and white flowers on the outside, and slowly as I started coloring this in with keeping my colors as reduced as possible, I realized this was getting very Christmassy, and I was like, you know what? That doesn't matter. It's okay. We're almost in Christmas season. It's fine. And I'm really happy with how it came out, especially with the fact that most of this is just acrylic marker. So it was really easy just zoning out, coloring, and then, for example, the red flowers, I did a base in one color, and then I grabbed a darker shade and went back and shaded them all. And I gotta zoom in a bit to see, because it's getting a bit washed out with this lighting. And then the only thing, I did add some gold acrylic marker in the center for some of the details, and then the white flowers were shaded with one of the Ohuhu watercolor markers that I got and had tested out. This, yeah, I'm not sure how much you can see it in this light. It feels like it's getting washed out, but yeah, so I love this page. This is probably my favorite page I finished last month. So that is that, and you'll be seeing more pages in that because I plan to work on at least one page a month until I'm done. So then I saw this book, Serendipity by R.J. Hampson, and fell in love. I was like, I need this immediately. I saw one flip through and I was like, yes, sign me up. I was not expecting to buy it, but when I saw it, I was like, yes, I need this. So I ended up finishing this page with the tiger, and I had a lot of humming and hawing if I was going to do this page, or because R.J. Hampson has the backside that has like the darker versions, and I was like, do I do that version or do I do the one with the shadow? And in the end, I figured I liked this one better, so I did this one. And this one was done most partially in bed because this was what I was doing when I was sick. This is done with the Ohuhu markers that I mentioned earlier, so this is mostly not, so you can see on the back side, the only alcohol marker I used was for the background, the green, because I figured that was going to be easier with alcohol markers, and by then I was feeling better, so I was actually at my desk and not in bed. So everything else was done with the Ohuhu water-based markers, and really enjoying them. Again, despite them being water-based, they do not streak as much as other water-based markers I've used. You can especially tell on the tiger that is a bigger surface that it is smooth. You don't really have much streaking going on. And any streaking that I did have was muted by the shading, which I did with another new set of pencils I got, which are the Prismacolor Scholars. I cannot afford normal Prismacolors, but the Scholars were on sale for Black Friday, so I picked them up and decided to try them out here. I was really happy because finally I have, a white that actually can be used on watercolor pencil markers, and you can still see them. And so I added most of the shading and the highlights using Prismacolor pencils, and then the background, the little shading I did underneath the two guys in the center was done with the alcohol markers. I just put a second or third layer until I got that effect. I kind of freehanded slightly. I had drawn the circle on the back, and I know it's bulging a bit on one side, but by the time I noticed that, I had already done this side, and I didn't want to go back and add to it because I knew that it would be visible. And actually the camera is picking up some of the pencil that you can still see on the border, which is impossible to erase after you do alcohol marker on top. But other than that, I am happy with this page. I like how bright it is. I kind of needed that like spring brightness and all the greens and the flowers. And it was nice to work on something that just had a moderate amount of detail and that I could just color in with markers to get coverage really fast. So yeah, that was that one from Serendipity from R.J. Hampson. That is all for the books that I have. I have finished 2 more pages that I do not have the actual physical copies, so you get scans. These 2 I did from Tiny Cats from Coco, and I can't remember the name. It'll be on screen. We got these for our nieces and decided to color in the first page of one of the books for each of the girls, because it's 2 girls. So I picked these 2 books and colored the first page so that when they open it, they have an example, so to say, of our coloring in their coloring book. So they have something to look at because they really like how we're both artists, my partner and I. So my partner did 2 pages as well, and I will showcase them here. Very different style from mine. I tend to like the bright colors with no whites, so I layer a lot of pencil. They don't mind leaving white between the pencil markings, so it is a bit of a lighter hand. and I really like their color choices. But yeah, it is fun seeing how different people do different styles, and it was fun just coloring together and making sure that both of our nieces had a book with a page done by each of us. So that was a fun little experiment, and that brings up my pages to 6 total for November. The only thing I have left is to share some work in progresses, because while I didn't finish them, I did do some more coloring. I just kept switching around what I felt like. Beginning of the month, I worked a bit more in Tiny Worlds by Matt Edwards, and I have this page, which I actually started in October, and I added some more color. I've been mixing alcohol markers and water-based markers, both Ohuhu sets, I believe, though I think I have some touch markers in there as well, and just chipping away at it. These pages have so much tiny, tiny, tiny details that it can take a while. And I had started to get stumped with the colors when I was working with the details in water markers. So I had switched to alcohol markers to do all of the like bigger areas. And now I have like the medium areas and the like main subjects left. And hopefully I can finish it soon. I don't like leaving work in progresses for too long because then I lose like sight of it and they may never be finished. So hopefully I can get this finished soon. And so far I'm okay with it. Before I colored in the wood, I wasn't liking how many colors I had put into it, but once I had given that blue, the greens, the browns, it kind of helped mute and solidify and all the colors. So here's hoping I can finish it. The gnome home inside a knotted oak. Next work in progress was in Anamorphia by Kirby Rosanis, and this was, I was feeling sick. We were supposed to have a D&D session, but I'm the DM, and my players decided that I was in no position to DM a session, so they said, we're just going to hang out and chat, and my voice was almost gone, so they said, you can't talk, you can just be in chat, but you can't speak. So I was just listening to them chatting, and in the meantime, I just decided to pick this up with the, again, Ohuhu water-based markers that I had been testing out. And I just started this bottom area here, got all this colorful reef colored in. And then during the rest of my sick days, I grabbed my acrylic markers to do the background. I really like how this area here turned out and the bubbles down here. Not too happy with this area here, so I might actually redo this and go over it again with the acrylic markers. Luckily, it's acrylic, so I can do that. And I still haven't figured out what I'm doing with the whale, because that is a big space. I can't really do it with acrylic because I will lose a lot of the texture because of the opacity of acrylic markers. But it is a very big area to do with water-based markers. So I don't know, I might try water-based markers. Considering the texture, you might not be able to see any streaking anyways, and I could always go over it with pencil, or I might just do it with pencil, or maybe even just introduce some watercolor itself, or use the water-based markers as watercolors, because I know I can do that. But I haven't decided, so it's a work in progress still. And I'm also not sure exactly what colors I want to do for the fish. I just like this pop of color, and I know it's going to be reintroduced down here as well, because I do want to do the double spread. So I kind of want to keep the fish different. So we'll see what I do there. For the shading in the bottom, I just picked a blue Prismacolor Scholar and one day just sat down and added all the shading. And that was fun too, because I just used one color, the blue, and that helped kind of give it all that sheen of underwater colors without darkening it too much so that it's nice and bright. So yeah, happy with it so far, and besides fixing that, hopefully I get the inspiration to finish it soon. And between the markers and the acrylic markers, I've had very little. I only tested some water here and it kind of passed, but you can't really see it with this lighting. So yeah, that's worked out well. And the paper hasn't really taken much crinkle to it. despite me putting, I think, 2 layers of acrylic marker on most areas. Hopefully I get to show that off finished soon. Next in the work in progresses is my attempt at starting Cosmic Spirit. I keep going back and forth about working in this one, and I wanted to do a horoscope related image every month. We're currently still in Scorpio, and my last one I had done it in the Victorian Fantasy Collection, and this one also has some, so I decided to switch to this one. And this is the page. I started with a lot of momentum, finished everything that I knew what colors I wanted to go with, and then I got a bit stumped with how I wanted to do this area here, this background. I know I wanted to be purples and pinks and kind of like nebula sky, and I just wasn't sure how I wanted to do it. Did I want to use alcohol markers and do a lot of blending, but there's a lot of stars there? Do I want to use acrylics? Do I want to use some watercolor? I don't know. Do I want to just go in with pencils? I still to this day don't know, and that is why this is still a work in progress. I haven't decided yet, and until I do, this is going to stay where it is, because I really wanted to do the background elements before I got to the scorpion itself and all the other details, just in case I need to go over it with probably acrylic to rescue some lines. So yeah, once I make a decision, we'll see where it goes. In the meantime, everything is done with alcohol markers, with my Ohuhu alcohol markers. And I do have plans for shading, either with pencils, probably with pencils, and I'm probably adding some more details with more alcohol. And that is Earl, who has... Please don't move. Hears me talking, and he has to be the center of attention. He's like, well, you're speaking. Stop rubbing against the stand, please. Alright, so that one's done. And my last work in progress is the Cozy Spaces for November, which I haven't finished, despite me trying desperately to finish it towards the end of the month. And the page that was chosen by Pixie's Projects was this one for Thanksgiving, and as you can see, it's about halfway done. I've been chipping away at it here and there. I was testing a new set of pencils that I got. They're similar to the Brute Funer. They're like oily pencils. They're harder lead, and I've been struggling with the harder lead, I guess. I'm not used to the hard lead, and sorry for the shaking. Earl's walking back and forth on the desk. So yeah, I started the wood with those pencils. They blend nicely, they layer nicely. Because they are harder lead, you can get a lot of like layers down, and you don't have that waxy bloom. I can show, yeah, you can, this is essentially multiple layers before it got shiny, and even then I could still put detail, and I was able to, excuse me, sir. I'm busy. I was able to put some detail, it's not, yeah, there you can see the little bits of detail there. So I really like how it looks. It's just taking me a while, especially for the little details. Don't rub against the lighting. I get uncertain about the colors that I want to use for the little details, because I don't like introducing too many colors. And I already have, you know, the browns, the blacks, the reds, and I kind of want to keep that. I might introduce more green, which I used for the flowers, into the rest of the decorations. But yeah, I kind of want to keep... I feel like I've already put enough colors, and I don't want to expand that. I initially thought of using blue for the background, for example, for these tiles, but then I was like, no, I don't want to introduce blue. This is all warm colors. I want to keep it warm. So, struggles of choosing colors and being an artist. I also know that some of the details, like the handles and stuff, I do want to add some gold detailing with gold marker. So I've been keeping that in consideration when choosing what I'm coloring. So yeah, I've been up and down with this one. I even started another page just so that I could take a break from this and come back to it, so I don't get frustrated, because I think if you start getting too frustrated with a page, the best thing you can do is just start another page and set it aside, because if you grow to hate a page, you might never finish it. and I would honestly rather finish it, even if it takes me a while, or even if I have to finish a couple of pages in between. And I really want to do this justice. We got some detailing on what the pencils look like. And I did start getting a bit frustrated with the pencils, so some of this has alcohol on it, alcohol markers, mainly the brown here, and I used a light gray for most of the metal bits and then just shaded on top. And that's it. That is the last page that I have worked on in November. Not as many as usual, more almost as many work in progresses as completed pages, I feel. But hopefully I get to do more this month, but it is December and we all know we have a lot of family dinners and get together with friends and so on because of Christmas. So we'll see how that goes. And I am hoping to publish some more videos because last month I only published my October video, which did not get as many views as my other ones, not because of any fault of my viewers, but because it looks like YouTube just decided it didn't like it and the algorithm just did not push my video. So if you haven't seen my October video, please go check it out, as it didn't get picked up by the algorithm for some reason. It only had 1/10 of the impressions as my other videos had, so that was kind of disappointing because I was really happy with my October videos, pages, that is. So that said, I will see you next time, and happy coloring!